Hello and welcome back to Rich Idea Per Idea, the podcast where I interview founders about how they got and validated their startup idea. In this episode, I'm going to be sitting down with Peter Maslik, who is the co-founder and CMO of a FinTech company called Investown. Investown started back in 2021 with the mission to make investing in real estate very easy and accessible to pretty much anyone. Starting with just 20 euros, you can invest in real estate projects. And so far, they have paid out more than 850,000 euros to their investors, and more than 31 million euros has been invested through their platform. I uncovered lots of great insights with Peter in this episode, mainly how did he and his co-founders come up with the idea, the steps they took to validate it and do the market research, and we also talked about the initial marketing campaigns that they did to get a lot of customers. Lots of great insights in this episode, so I hope you enjoy it.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you? Great to have you on.
Good. I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I really appreciate your time. So if you're ready, we can get started. Can you tell me a bit about your experience? What led you to coming up with the idea for Investown?
Right. Of course. So before Investown, I've worked in a fintech in London, actually. That was most of the times that I spent in a fintech was actually in London. After moving to Czech Republic, and the inception of Investown, it was a period of time where I was sort of, first of all, looking for a new project, looking for something to dig into, but also, looking at the differences between Western Europe, where I've just spent the last, 12 years of my life, and, between Eastern Europe or Central and Eastern Europe, here, Czech Republic, and sort of how I could use what I've learned there and the principles that work there, businesses that work there, and how could I bring more of that here in Czech Republic to sort of push forward innovation, push forward any of the industries that I was knowledgeable in. When it comes to for investing, there's no secret that Central Eastern Europe is far behind the West. I'm not even talking about the US now, just, looking at the differences between UK and, people have a misconception and they think that it is just, for example, Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, Ukraine, and like the eastern side of Central Europe. But even when we look at countries like Germany, investing is still very much behind what they are used to in Western Europe, like, for example, the UK. So that was sort of the first push towards starting Investown. And then we just started looking for a good idea.
So this idea, Investown, obviously you guys make it super easy and convenient for pretty much anyone to invest in real estate. When you're trying to look at ideas in this fintech space, what made you think that there was a market for such a thing in the Czech Republic and beyond?
Right. So we validated the idea once we went through, the hours and hours of reiterating what is it that we actually want to do, how we want it to look, and what do we want to focus on. We actually paid for, market validation. We did our own research. We did focus groups. We talked to people. It's the easiest way to validate any idea as a startup founder is to get out and validate your product with actual people that you're trying to solve problems for.
Right. So obviously talking to the customers is very important, but I want to take a step back and kind of understand how did you come up with the first features of the product where really it's about investments in real estate. Where did this idea come from?
So there's two lines that connected really well here. First of all, we've looked at the businesses that work in Western Europe and in the US. And we've looked at trends and how crowdfunding as a concept has been picking up in the recent years. And we've realized, that nobody really does it here in Czech Republic. Well, nobody really does it at the level that people do it, for example, in the US. Now, at the same time, we knew that these companies, they cannot enter our market, even though they're huge corporations, like, for example, Peer Street, Fundrise.com. They're not allowed to enter European markets and serve European customers because of financial regulations between the US and EU. So that was the first thing. We realized we wanted to do something in the crowdfunding space. We wanted to enter that field. And then second line that entered into this and created the merge that ended up being Investown is, the love affair of investors here with real estate. Real estate is often considered sort of pinnacle of investing here in Europe, especially in the center and eastern part of Europe. When you say, you're an investor, people don't really picture balanced portfolios. They don't picture having stocks and bonds and options and all of these things. They picture owning 2-3 apartments. They picture, renting them out and living off of that income. That is sort of the pinnacle of investing here. So we've looked at that. We're like, okay, perfect. We've got a match here, right? Because, on one hand, you have crowdfunding. You have the ability of merging bunch of money from a bunch of smaller investors, make it behave like, one big investor. And on the other side, you have real estate, which is something that people trust, they believe in. There's a big will to invest in that. And, at the same time, very few people can actually afford it. Because it's not like everybody's got a couple of millions of crowns lying on their bank account ready to, be dropped into an apartment that they are going to rent out. So instead, what we did is we gave them the ability to sort of still invest in that space, still participate in making a good return, a good profit from that space, but at the same time, making it very accessible for everyone.
Right. So you found that it's working in the US and the UK and those other bigger countries, and you wanted to kind of replicate the experience in the Czech Republic. And really, your solution is kind of pooling together people's money so that not one single person has to invest a huge amount.
You're mostly correct. Yes, basically, we took what worked in the US, in the UK, but we just made it more available, right? Because even companies, for example, like I've mentioned, oftentimes you will have higher entry points, 500,000, 15,000, 50,000, and so forth. We really wanted everybody to be able to take part in this. So we've dropped the entry point to 500 crowns, which translates to 20-something dollars, which literally means that everyone, whether you are a university student or a pensioner, or you have a full-blown working career, everybody can take part. And when we did this, the rest followed. So we simplified the user interface massively, sort of to make it understandable for everyone. We've dropped all of those unnecessary and big words that investment companies use to make you feel like they are the only ones that can do what they are doing. And we're trying to show that you can have your investments in your mobile app and you can carry them around in your pocket, and sort of everyone can be that investor that you read about in the Wall Street Journal or, see on TV.
Mm-hmm. It sounds similar to Robinhood and how easy you made investing is. Like, it's just a mobile app, no jargon, no difficult words that nobody can understand except the banks.
We definitely took a page from Robinhood's playbook. They are a massive inspiration when it comes to the approach of this. Sort of their mission, democratizing finance and investing for everyone, is something that speaks to us, obviously, as well. So that we definitely draw inspiration from them. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you come up with this idea and you think there's a market for it here. What do the first steps of validation look like? So what are the next steps when it comes to researching? How did you find the customers? What were the questions that you asked them?
Great question, and it has a quite a lengthy answer, so I'm going to try to distill it down to the most important point. This comes from a single fact that is that Investown was created for everyone, right? When you think of of most of the apps or most of the products, you have a very clearly, specifically defined target group. Whereas with Investown, it is a bit different, and we really tried to come up with a product that could be used equally by older people, younger people, people with a lot of money that want to, invest seriously, but also people that, are left with 1,000, 2,000 crowns at the end of the month to invest, and they want to put it into something that's safe. So once we've put together the team and we've validated the idea with the first investors, we received the pre-seed funding. And that's what we used to validate the idea. What we did is we came up with a clickable prototype. We came up with a sort of like a pre-release version of the app, of the web platform. And we started going around people, first friends and family. That's where every founder starts, So you take your friends and family, you ask them, hey, what do you think about that? Are you going to try that and give me some feedback? So we used our own network for that. And once we got some first answers, we reiterated the product a little bit. We made some changes based on the feedback. And then we repeated the same thing, but with people that we didn't know. So this is where we started paying for focus groups. This is where we started, going to research agencies that would facilitate these product market fits research capabilities.
You mentioned that you created a clickable prototype. So I assume that you hired a designer to do this for you, or was it you or one of the other co-founders who did it?
No, we did everything ourselves in the beginning. So a bunch of us learned how to do Figma designs and user interface, user experience. And then three of our co-founders are tech oriented. Two of them are literally just programmers. So they've put together the clickable prototype. We sort of every startup has to go through this phase where you just put your elbows deep into what needs to be done, and you just get down and you do it.
Yeah, I really like this, where you kind of create a scrappy version instead of paying a lot for the idea to be developed and you haven't even validated it.
Absolutely. This is one of the biggest differences between the US and European startup scene. And that's the fact that, European consumers are in general much more, they have higher standards than the US consumers when it comes to the level of finish that the app or the product they use needs. And that's what I think is one of our biggest shortcomings. The startup founders, they're afraid of launching the product because they think it's too soon, or, the product is not polished enough or is not pretty enough. I really like that quote, and I don't want to misspeak, so I'm not going to say by whom it is. I have a strong suspicion that it's by the founders of Dropbox, but again, I'm not sure, so it might be wrong. No. But one of the very smart startup people said, if you launch your product and you're not embarrassed by it, you launch too late. And I really like that. So definitely one thing that I think all of the European startups should focus more on is just validate your product earlier, because in the end, it doesn't really matter what we think about the product. And if we like the design, what matters is whether the consumers who the product is meant for, whether they like it.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, if you launch an unfinished version of the product, yeah, it may be that some customers would be hesitant to pay for it, but at least you will receive feedback from the start.
Absolutely. And it's not like, when you launch this, let's say beta version, right, or version 1.0, which is basically your MVP, or it's very shortcoming on features that you want to implement in the future. When you launch this, it's not like you dump millions into marketing right away and you're going to get masses coming in. You're going to get early adopters. And these are the people that are usually the most likely to provide you feedback. And they're also the most willing to provide you feedback and stick around. And these are the people that later on you start building your community around, and they will become your, core ambassadors, if you will.
Right. That makes sense. I have a second question. You mentioned that when you were like first validating the idea, you went out to talk with family and friends and then other strangers to kind of validate the idea. I'm curious, what questions were you asking them? Because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine that for the average consumer, they have a few £1,000s left at the end of the month. They're not thinking, what do I do with them? What do I invest? But instead they're thinking, let me just keep them in my account as savings. So what questions were you asking to kind of understand if they would be willing to use the solution?
Absolutely, very valid. People don't really think in these parts of the world. Certainly, they don't think like this. They don't go, oh, what should I do with the remainders of my money? Where should I invest them? They think, okay, I saved some money. I'm going to keep them in my account. So the first step was literally this, how much money do you have left at the end of the month? What do you do with it? How much money do you have saved up in total? And that's when we realized the size of the potential, right? When we dug a little deeper and when we partnered with the Erste Group to access some of the banking data reports and things that they collect from their users, we've realized that there is a little over $1 trillion sitting in bank deposit accounts across the Central and Eastern Europe. 255 billions of that is in Czech Republic. Massive opportunity, right? So in the beginning, the idea wasn't even how do we get people that invest in other products investing with us. It was how do we get people that are not used to investing to invest, and how can we provide the easiest solution for them to do that? Because a lot of people are skeptical when it comes to investing. They don't trust. First of all, they don't trust the companies providing the services. They don't trust the services themselves. People don't really trust things like stocks, bonds. If to them is very abstract, it's something that is somewhere there in the cloud. It's supposedly there and it's supposedly yours, but you can't see it, you can't touch it. And people in Central Eastern Europe, they are very keen on investing in real estate. I think specifically because they are tangible assets. You can go and you can see that house that you've invested in, or you can go and see that development project and see if it's being built and so forth. So in the first line of fire, for us, it wasn't how can we get people to invest with us, but it was how can we get people investing in the first place.
Right. I think that, what you mentioned about these people find stocks very abstract. And so when you hear about all of these terms, it can get a bit intimidating. But for you, real estate is kind of it's a tangible product that you're investing in. And, it mentions on your website that it's a fixed rate that you get. So that's kind of reassuring for the customer that, I'm going to put in this amount every month and this is what I'm going to get back. How important was this feature for your application and how did it develop?
It was definitely one of the core, most important features. As you said, it's not filled with complex languages. And, this might seem like it evolved that way, but it is actually designed that way. I saw this in my time, when I worked in London in the banking industry there. Basically, investment companies and investment banks, they design their products in a way where a normal person is intimidated by what it's said, in the paperwork and in the product itself. The terms like, equity, over leveraged, liquidity pools, and so forth. They are designed in a way where you read them and you are not exactly sure what that means. You kind of have an idea, but not exactly. And that makes you feel like only that company or that person that represents that company can help you with the problem that you have. And this is a stereotype that we wanted to crush. And we wanted to show that, you don't need to use terms like that. You don't need to say equity. Mm-hmm. You can say, hey, here's how much money you have invested in total. You don't have to say the leverage on this is 1 to 10. You can say, hey, this is a house, this is how much it's worth, and this is the investment that you're putting in. It's that simple. So the fact that people, when people invest, it's backed by the property that they choose. Makes them feel safe and secure. The fact that, the language is simplistic enough for everyone to understand makes them happy about the product, makes them come back, makes them, use it with pleasure, or makes them happy to use the product because they feel like they know what they're doing. And last but not least, the fact that you can see your portfolio growing monthly when you get sort of like dividends, not really dividends, but when you get the payouts on a monthly basis, you don't have to wait for your investment for a quarter or for a year, like it's like you would usually have in these types of products. Definitely helps the popularity of the app.
And you mentioned that, you wanted to really convince customers who are currently not investing to start investing. What were their most common objections? Was it a matter of trust, that they think investments are too difficult and they don't really trust how much return they're going to get? Were there any objections, or was that the main one?
Absolutely. There were 3 main objections. The one that you said was the core. That was absolutely the most dominant one. I don't trust you. I don't trust what you're selling. We solved this by partnering with the largest Czech commercial bank, Česká, spořitelna, who is part of the Erste Group. As soon as we started using their logos, as soon as we officially partnered with them, this completely went away. People trust it and people love it. The second objection is I don't have enough money. Investing is not me, because you need millions for investing. We crushed that myth by allowing everyone to invest, from 500 crowns. And the third objection was I don't understand investing. I don't know what's going on. I don't have the education to understand it. And again, we addressed this by making the product as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm, got it. You really seem to take each objection head on and kind of tell the customer why they shouldn't, why they should use the product. You mentioned that you partnered with Česká, spořitelna, which is my bank. It's a very famous, credible bank here. I would love if you could tell us how you managed to convince them to start partnering with you and allowing your product to be used by their customers.
Right. Česká, spořitelna has been really pivotal. They have been a great partner. First of all, as I mentioned, they provided us with their name that we can use when we say that we are a partner project. They invested in us through their CVC, Seed Starter, which is a program that invests in early stage startups. And I think they, similar to us, recognized, the size of the opportunity. They liked the team that we've put together. I'm guessing they liked the clickable model as well.
Mhm.
So, we basically just agreed on an investment from them, and that came with a partnership.
Right. Well, I was talking to a founder earlier who also works in FinTech, and he was telling me about how difficult it was to kind of get at least one person from their partner's bank to talk to them. I wonder how you got, the first conversation with the Česká spořitelna going.
I can understand how it can seem like a daunting thing when you're trying to talk to banks and they won't respond. I think the suggestion that I would give here any aspiring founders that want to get into fintech is persistence. The more you hear no, the closer the yes is usually. In our case, since we were all basically founders and co-founders from fintech companies previously, we already had an established fintech network. Alan, our CEO and our co-founder, he ran the second largest mortgage portal in the Czech Republic. He basically worked with a lot of banks, referring clients, and henceforth, he had good contacts in, for example, Česká spořitelna as well. So for us, this was a little easier, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible for people that are first founder as well.
Yeah, I understand. I think, your application is an example of a marketplace where you need customers to invest in order to attract real estate partners, and then you need real estate partners in order to attract customers. How did you deal with this chicken and egg problem?
Yeah, this was one of our biggest challenges in the beginning. So as you said, it's always, the problem is always you have either too many customers that are willing to invest, but they have nothing to invest in, or you have too many real estate partners that are looking for funding and not enough people to invest in all of those projects. Right now, I think we are at I want to say the closest that we have been to a sweet spot, with a lot of projects that are coming our way where we can pick, the best for our customers, and also a very large customer base that is hungry to invest in. In the beginning, we solved this by, putting together a sales department that went out and started chasing real estate developers and partners, and we just sort of did active sales. We're like, hey, we are doing this and we can finance your product. Our main selling point when it comes to real estate developers is that, more so in real estate than in any other industry, time equals money, right? Like if you have a good project and if you have a good parcel, you want to build your project. You don't want somebody else to swoop in and build their own project there. You want to do that. But to get funded, you have to go through banking approvals, and all of that can take months. In a best case scenario, it's 2 to 3 months, but it's usually 4 to 7 months. We've cut that process of validation for the funding down to 3 days, and that is invaluable to real estate developers. So, in the beginning, we used this as a sales technique. We just went out and we tried to hunt for them. Right now, we just have partners coming to our door and knocking and say, hey, I've got this project. Can we finance it through you? So it all comes back to, sort of building that brand, building that name, sort of sales working together with marketing, right? Because if there's one thing in marketing that every early stage startup sucks at, it's brand building. We all focus on getting our customers early. We all focus on performance marketing, and everybody forgets that in the long run, that's not what's going to pay the bills. It's the brand building. So once that kicked in and we started being sought out by the partners, it just became 1,000 times easier.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk just about 2 more things. So the first is marketing. When you got the investment in order to develop the first product, what were your marketing campaigns like?
When we first launched, the marketing was very early stage as well as the product, right? So it was, of course, some Facebook ads, social media, content strategies like blog posts, and so forth. We added some Google ads and PPC in general, search ads. There's also the server Seznam here, which is a popular alternative to Google. So PPC and click ads on that server as well. What really kicked off for us was when we dug into PR. So in the beginning, when we had quite a nice traction, there was an article that dropped by Seznam Zprávy, which is the largest, network of news here in Czech Republic. That really kickstarted us. Our servers got overloaded because over 11,000 people registered within a couple of days from that one article. And the worst thing is we didn't even know they were writing it. They just wrote about us, and suddenly we're looking at our Google Analytics and we are like, where is this traffic coming from? What is happening? So that's when we realized the power of PR, and we dug a little deeper. We hired our own PR agency, and we started, communicating with media more and more. That was, I would say, the turning point where our marketing got serious. And then from that, it was just, your basic scaling. So we added influencers, partners, affiliate program. We went into more and more media. We tried radio. There is a tram in Prague that goes around that has Investown stickers all over it. And then some smaller campaigns here and there. But we basically try to cover all types of media, whether you have print, digital, audio, video. We try to be everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Which one seemed to work most for you? Was it really the articles like the one in Seznam?
Again, it's a very good question, but not one that has a straightforward answer because of the different target groups that we have, right? So, as I mentioned earlier, we've put Investown together with everyone in mind. So we don't have one specific target group that we aim at. That means that, for each different target group, we use a different channel that works best for acquisition. Mm-hmm. Your younger people, your university students, you'll find them on TikTok and on Instagram these days, right? The young professionals, they already have a career going, and that already, invest maybe into some other products. We will find those on LinkedIn, through PR, articles and so forth. And then you have your big investors. And these are people that could actually easily afford, to buy an apartment, but instead they choose to use Investown. They send millions of crowns into our platform because we make it so easy. We make it all carefree. They don't have to go around and scout for the perfect property. We do all of that, for them. These people, they are the hardest to reach. Obviously, it's usually word of mouth, is usually networking events, or very specifically targeted PR articles.
Mm-hmm, gotcha. I want to move on to kind of fast forward to today. I wonder how many customers you have each month investing, and what do your financials look like?
We've been online for, I believe, 17 months right now. In that time, we've had 60,000 investors that joined the platform, and they invested a little over $35 million with us.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing for just 17 months old, right?
Yeah, we really think that the timing was right, that the market was ready for a product like that, and I think it really helped that we've built everything around the needs of the customers, and they repay us by showing us a lot of love. Right now, there is a bigger chance that somebody invests and they come back and invest 10 times that they never invest again. Which really goes to show the retention on Investown is amazing, and we're so grateful. We're so grateful to all of our customers, and to our team alike, because this is a testament to the really good job that the product and the marketing teams are doing.
I love that. That's amazing. We are out of time, Peter, but I really want to thank you for a lot of great insights. I think FinTech is a very difficult industry, and for you guys to have been only online for 17 months and to have built such an amazing brand is really good. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.